The average person is a dumbed down sheep. Why do you think there are so many advertisements that really children could see through? Because so many adults are stupid. There are people whose job it is to keep you stupid so that the system can game you. So that unattractive women can take advantage of you. There are people who have positions in society that allow for them to take advantage of people, and they contribute to misconceptions that dumb people down. One thing about San Jose is there is a dramatic difference between the education levels of the entrepreneurs and the poor class, the ghetto class, the thug class, the underclass, the proletariat. That's part of the reason why communists have historically targeted the proletariat, because they're not very smart. They simply studied what they're mad about, and they tell them what they want to hear, and they recruit them in mass. However, there are many people who are so focused on computer science, for instance, that they don't truly understand deeper philosophies. This is why Masons have been able to recruit very educated scientists. Because just because someone is a scientist doesn't mean they are wise. They are just talented. So what it means to have mind, body, and soul really is to have deeper insight, the wisdom to understand the importance of these things, and to transcend society. Your body is a temple, and part of how you honor that temple is having deep relationships with the other sex, or waiting for marriage, so when feminists and the LGBT community team up to push the feminist agenda, it denies people that insight. It denies people wisdom, and it denies people romantic attraction. Feminism, LGBT philosophies, Satanists, atheists, eugenicists, agnostics, people with the philosophy of science, criminals, and more, especially mental health advocates, have waged war on love. Love is a very natural thing. That's why the Bible emphasizes what is natural versus unnatural lusts. God is the ultimate form of nature, the creator of nature. The nature of God and the nature of man are very important. And they have to do with wisdom. Knowing yourself requires wisdom. If you are misled by society and you conform as a result, you do not know yourself, and you do not know what is right. Therefore, people need to know themselves and work on themselves, mind, body, and soul. Everything else is secondary at best. Financial success is secondary at best. Social standing is secondary at best. Relationships should be based on love, not gold digging, as so many gold digging feminists who use their pussy power to influence politics and are in secret societies have made the mistake to thinking it's about social status. What does it mean to pursue social equality, economic equality, and political equality? It is to pursue conformity in these times that we live in. You have to dumb people down to make people think that things that are not equal actually are. For example, it is easier for an attractive woman to get a date than for an attractive man. Especially when it comes to an attractive date. It is easier for an unattractive woman to get an attractive man than it is for an unattractive man to get an attractive woman. There's nothing anyone is going to be able to do to change that, because these things are related to nature. Man naturally has a greater sex drive. Definitely in general. So the only sort of equality there can be is among men. However, there can be a certain fairness when it comes to gender roles in society if you consider and acknowledge the difference between men and women. To not do that is not only unfair to men, but it is unfair to women. For example, how can you say we are equal and then demand a maternity leave, but not give men anything that is similar or equal? That's very disingenuous at best. But once one embraces these differences, then, and only then, can the insightful social planner create a world in which we are all treated fairly. Should babies demand equality? No, we have to acknowledge that they're different and treat them fairly and righteously. What should never happen in society is that someone who is insightful, honest, good, and has such a great mind-body-soul connection, such as myself, should be subjected to inferior philosophies and the judgments of inferior minds. Reminds me of the Hurricane Carter song by Bob Dylan. How can the life of such a man be in the palm of some fool's hand? The social planners wish to put the lives of the greatest, the wisest, and the best among us in the palms of people with complexes, feminists, gays, atheists, people who do not acknowledge nature. If you do not believe God exists and you take up the philosophy of science, you are inclined to believe that love doesn't exist, and all there is conformity to social norms that you are going to try to create without consideration to religious beliefs. What is secular humanism but conformity, as it is a mainstream philosophy? This is a secular society. And the desire to treat one sex better than the other. More often than not, secular humanism means feminism. More often than not, secular humanism means being for gay rights. When even the Republican Party's candidate, nominee, has suggested that we screen out immigrants and make them pro-gay and pro-feminist, one cannot honestly say that feminism is not an elite philosophy. One cannot honestly say that LGBT philosophies aren't handed to us from the elite. I urge you all to watch my video on the Catholic Reformation and the Counter-Reformation. It makes it absolutely clear over the course of hundreds of years that people with Christian morality have been struggling against elite philosophies that are often impressed upon ignorant groups of people who don't know the importance of family values and morality. And wars have been fought as a result. The community in San Jose, in conclusion, is full of ignorant people. There really isn't mind, body, and soul. There's a bunch of drug dealers, drug addicts, meth heads, greedy professionals, quote unquote, fake Christians, liars, cheaters, thieves. The cultures and philosophies of spiritual bottom feeders have been thoroughly oppressed upon the different segments of the San Jose community. They have disgraced their racial groups, their ethnic groupings. Because when people look at the demographics, they say, well, there's a bunch of whites and Hispanics and Asians. And they adhere to these inferior philosophies, and they make sure that each other are following the leader. If one does not acknowledge the supremacy of man, and God being a man, Jesus being a man, and the significance of it, if one does not acknowledge God and nature, the natural order, and the spiritual world, they are blind to it. They say, you know what, it's not there. Therefore, when you are led by people like this, people like that, rather, you are being led by the blind. And when they have convinced you that they are right, you are blind. So, by definition, it is the blind leading the blind. And I am not the one-eyed man. I see things clearly. The San Jose community has simply not done 20 years of research. I have. They're not full of geniuses who have used their intellect to find a higher cause, a higher purpose, and the deepest and most true of philosophies. I have. They are not full of top martial artists. There's only one. It's me. What you see here is a bunch of ignorant fools. Some of them educated, but ignorant to the highest form of intellect, which is wisdom, who are trying to get me to conform in a very racist manner by trying to play me out as crazy instead of concede my point. Yesterday, I spent probably 45 minutes completely destroying the views of 4 to 5 people in the comments at the same time. This is something that happens every day. I always have the superior argument. They always cling to mainstream misconceptions with a death grip. I would like to leave you with this final thought. I do not hate people for being less insightful than I am. I do not hate people for not being as great of a warrior as I am, or for being fatter than I am. And I hate people for being richer or poorer than I am. I hate people for using their position in society, high or low, to propagate despicable falsehoods and deny me my rightful place and deny 100 million people who die preventable deaths a fair chance at life. And for denying me the opportunity to truly help them. That is unforgivable. If you spill milk, it is forgivable. If you are an unrepentant sinner, God will not forgive you, and neither will I. Thank you.